everybody. I'm Al Bernstein, and welcome to this edition of Big Time Boxing as we continue to talk to you about things going on in the world of boxing and bring you the best guests that we can get in on this show. Delighted to have a chance in just a moment or two to talk to Dimitri Salita, who, of course, is the head of Salita Promotions, and we have lots to talk about with him, especially given the recent developments with Vladimir Shishkin and his attempt to win a world title and the controversy about that, and also about the Big Time Boxing USA series that I work on and other things in the world of boxing. So we're going to chat with Dimitri in just a moment or two. But you are sending me questions, which I'm answering both on Twitter at Al Bernstein and here on the YouTube channel in the comments section. And we're going to answer one of those right now. Our next show, we're going to answer a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to get to one of them right now that was sent by Lenny P on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And this one is, he says, with the Saudi money coming into boxing, getting promoters to work together on big fights, where do you see the future of boxing heading? Is this good for boxing and good for the American boxing scene? Well, a couple of different things there to unpack. Number one, first, as it relates to the Saudi influence in boxing, nobody really knows what that is for the long term of the sport. We know that at this juncture, because of it, certain fights have been made that might be more difficult for promoters to make, and that's the plus side. I don't think anybody in the sport can say that that is the lifeblood of the sport. Things go on as they're going on in the sport of boxing right now. All the different promoters are doing what they do. Networks and platforms are doing what they do. And you have then over here the Riyadh seasons trying to make fights for their purposes. And people will debate that on many levels. But the two things are not inextricably bound. The future of boxing does not depend on that, or shouldn't, and yet it's clearly a part of the sport right now. Where is boxing right now? I personally think that the product that boxing is putting out there is excellent and has been for several years, maybe more than several years. I think the product boxing is putting out has been very, very good, and the trick and the key is that the platforms sending boxing to people, that they remain constant and that they remain available to boxing fans. This is not as big a problem internationally as it is in the United States, but here in the United States, certainly, and of course, you're getting the show all around the world, so in many of the places where you're at, not an issue with platforms putting boxing on. And so that's a key element. But the product that boxing is putting on is a good one. And I think when your product is a good one, you stand a good chance of having success. And I think boxing is right in the middle of what I like to believe is a little bit of a renaissance because of the fact that they have been giving boxing fans, for the most part, some excellent matches. And one of the people that has been doing that is a gentleman who is our guest on this show. He is the man who is in charge of the series that I've been happy to work on, the Big Time Boxing USA series, and of course he runs this channel where the show is emanating from. Dimitri Salita is with us. Dimitri, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be on.
Good to have you. There's so much for us to talk about. Perfect to have you on right at this moment on the show because we'll first deal with what something I know is uppermost in your mind, an event that took place this past weekend when Vladimir Shishkin took on William Scull to try and win the IBF 168-pound championship. It happened over in Germany, where William Scull has been fighting out of, even though he's a Cuban fighter. And it created a very controversial decision. Scull ended up winning a unanimous decision against Shishkin. A vast majority of people that watched the fight, both pundits and fans, felt that Shishkin won the fight. You promote Vladimir Shishkin. First, before we go backwards, tell us where things stand now in terms of any appeals or or requests for rematch or any of that? Where are we at news-wise with that?
We requested from the IBF and from the German boxing board to review the fight and to order a rematch. And I believe the next step would be for the IBF to send it to a neutral panel of judges and referees to review the fight and see what they feel about it. I was at the
Okay, so,
fight. Yeah, go ahead.
so you're
Yes,
requesting, you
so that's
guys
the
would like
process.
a rematch,
Yes,
right?
yeah, we would like the rematch. We would like to redo. We feel that it was an uh, unjust decision, and not only by the judges, but also it was uh,
Yeah,
a misperformance of the duty of the referee that did not penalize William Scull for any of the rapid punches after the bell, and in the 12th round for spitting out his mouthpiece when he was on his way down, and the referee giving him 17 seconds to recover. Usually there's a standing 8 count, so this is twice as much, more than twice as much as the standing 8 count would be. And the local German judge gave that round to William Scull. So that kind of is all you need to know about the spirit of the night. Vladimir threw and landed more than twice as many punches, and jabs and power punches. He came forward. He was the aggressor. Uh, it was not as an exciting fight as we thought. Uh, However, that should not make a difference. The right winner is the right winner. And people, sometimes people say, "Oh man, you know what? That's just boxing." So I don't buy it. 100 meter to win a 100-meter sprint in America should be 10 seconds, and in Germany and in Italy and all over the world, it's 10 seconds. It's
yeah.
not 11 seconds or 9 seconds in a different part of the world if you're in somebody's hometown. So it has to be very, defined. A winner is what a winner is and what a loser is, regardless of where, if it's in a fighter's hometown or not.
Yeah, there's no,
And
yeah,
mhm.
very good point.
No, and IBF, through their rules has been on up and up, and I have a lot of respect for them, and uh, have a lot of fighters affiliated with the IBF because I do believe that they follow their rules, and I do believe that they're fighter first and fairness first, and I believe that they will do the right thing and review it, and my belief is that the neutral judges and the referees, they're not swayed by local uh, noise or other things. Will make the right decision. So certainly, the interesting thing is that going into the fight, kind of no one knew who these guys were, but now Jake Paul is tweeting about it, and you're tweeting about it, and it's great that both of those guys, but particularly Vladimir's profile, has raised, and uh, and hopefully the IBF will order the rematch.
Yeah, it's not unprecedented for an organization to order a rematch after a controversial decision. We just had it coming up with Shaki Foster and Consequao. So it happens. It frequently happens in boxing. So it would not be unprecedented for them to do that or any other organization. There's no question the officials on that night did not cover themselves in glory. There's no question about that. Both the ringside officials and the referees, as you well pointed out. One of the interesting things, and you hit on it, was it makes no difference if people found the fight thrilling or not thrilling. First of all, William Scull is a very difficult guy to fight, and so it's very hard to look good against him. And he was able to deaden the fight in spots, which was the right strategy for him on many levels. But nonetheless, that has no bearing on the scoring. And you referenced round 12, which was fascinating because the German judge giving that round to Scull was pretty crazy. Well, and I agree with you. We can't just say, "Oh, that's boxing," because that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well,
And
it's not the way it's supposed to be, and it does, and if I don't file a protest, then the sport of boxing doesn't move forward. And I feel that, you know, people in boxing that are in the business of boxing, and certainly the fighters, we all have the responsibility to the sport to do the right thing. And as you know, when we do our shows in Michigan, the commission here allows us to hire our own judges. So when we do fights, certainly title fights and most significant fights, we bring in neutral judges from different states and different countries, and we've had many upsets scored on our shows. On July 27th, Shogun Kanagasha lost a split decision. Um,
Yeah.
so and it happens over and over again. And while I may be personally a little bit hurt, however, I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm happy because I want on my events. I want the right person to win. And we've had it happen many times, in Michigan, our Showbox series, and that's our goal continuously. So uh, I live it and I preach it, and from my point of view, as a promotional company and as someone who, with Vladimir Shishkin, kind of giving over.
Froze a little bit there. There you go. Now you're there. Yeah.
I believe
I
that it's the right thing to do, and mhm, and we'll see where the chips fall.
well, are you still there, Dimitri?
Yes, yes.
You good? Yeah. So you make a very good point about the fact that you have to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk, and that is, as you said, you referenced the fight recently where Ergashev was upset in a very close fight. He was clearly the bigger name in that fight, but boxing's supposed to be judged the way it's judged. Well, hopefully, they'll do the right thing and create a rematch. I think most people think that's appropriate and that they can do it in such a way that it's adjudicated fairly. You talked about the big time Boxing USA series. And let's talk a little bit about that. A much more pleasant topic for you, I think, than the Shishkin situation. We just had a show in Puerto Rico where that was, I thought, one of the most exciting and best of that series, and it was a fun evening of boxing that had many layers and many storylines during the course of it. The main one, of course, was Joshua Pagan going to Puerto Rico, where his father had lived before he came to the United States, and he had all kinds of family members, and many people came to the Coca-Cola Arena, and it was a great atmosphere to root him on. And originally, he was supposed to face a very good Canadian fighter who was a big step up for him. That didn't happen. But Haskell Rhodes, a veteran, stepped in and I think fought one of his best fights of the last 4 or 5 years. It was a great effort by Haskell Rhodes. And that effort that he put forward kind of made Pagan's victory even better. That storyline and the way that all played out was about as good as anybody could have expected.
Great. Yeah, and I agree with you. And it's great that such an experienced person as yourself, who's seen, more than fair share of boxing matches, recognizes this. And as you know, when you build a fighter, it's important that they experience challenges from different levels with different guys and different styles. So in the last fight, Pagan fought an undefeated fighter who was very good and very
Yeah.
game to win. And in this fight, he fought an experienced pro who presented challenges that he's never seen before. And I feel that he challenged Joshua just enough to make him raise to the next level, to understand what the next level of boxing is going to be if he's to progress. And it was competitive. I pushed him, um, and Haskell Rhodes came to win. And as a boxing fan, which is how I look at these fights, I enjoyed the fight, and I was looking forward to seeing the next round. Uh, and 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 I think that Joshua did a great job, and I do believe that him, connecting with his Puerto Rican heritage and connecting to the fans in Island of Puerto Rico. He spent a couple of weeks leading up to the fight training at Alejandro's gym in San Juan. So all these things, I believe, are um, great for his development as a fighter and for his brand as a fighter. And Joshua, he's just such a nice guy,
Yeah.
such a pleasant guy that boxing fans seem to gravitate to him. And I know a lot of guys uh, sometimes like the kind of the more bad boy personality, but Joshua is
Right.
a good guy, is truly a good guy, and we're looking forward to seeing him grow, in the next year.
Yeah, and it takes all different personalities to make up a sport. And that when we interviewed him leading up to the fight on this show, he was very interesting interview because he's just honest. He just talks to you with no posturing and no spin doctoring, and it's refreshing. And he's a very talented young fighter at age 24 who had fought a very good fight before that against Roger Hilly, who an excellent fighter who was undefeated, and then this further against a veteran it moves him forward. And we had a very good light heavyweight matchup as well on the card. Carrillo winning against Castillo in a fight that was of some importance in the light heavyweight division, and puts Carrillo, who's in the top 15 in 3 of the 4 organizations, a step closer to being a contender in the light heavyweight division. And that was an interesting fight because he was facing a fighter who had challenged for the title. Castillo had done that, and it produced some really interesting moments and maybe answered questions right now about Carrillo as well.
Yeah, Carrillo, I think, is a very talented fighter, looking to make his mark in the light heavyweight division, looking to stay busy. I believe that Lennon Castillo was the right guy, the right veteran type of guy who's been there with some of the best. Went the distance with Bivol, tough guy, and again presented challenges to Carrillo that he's not seen before. So, you know, sometime in the near future, I think that Carrillo can potentially fight either Bivol or Better BF or some of the other guys, top contenders in in the light heavyweight division. And he's the type of guy that you call him and you say you're fighting Mike Tyson. He says when and where. So he's very game. He's very hungry. Had an outstanding amateur career and is really hungry to take the next step. In his career.
Yeah, he's obviously talented, and the light heavyweight division is a fluid one. With Morel and Benavidez moving up now, and a number of other fighters, as well as the 2 top fighters that you referenced, Beterbiev and Bivol, who just had that epic match, an important match with each other. With the atmosphere in the Coca-Cola Arena, and I know you've made an arrangement to be connected with Puerto Rico for the big time USA boxing series. I assume you were pretty happy with that. It seemed like it was a wonderful partnership, a beginning to the partnership. The fans were there, they were excited, and it was a great venue.
Yes, it was great. It was beautiful. And Puerto Rico, like Michigan, produced some of the greatest fighters in the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
And I believe that that island has been kind of left alone for some time and has not produced
Mhm.
the Felix Trinidad's and the Miguel Cottos that intrigue the boxing fans and make the Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry that excite the New York City boxing fans, the Puerto Rican boxing fans in the United States. So we're looking forward to finding that next star, and Pagan is one of them. Um, and I believe that we'll find the diamond in the rough in the next year and polish him and we'll present him to the greater boxing world and the greater boxing community.
Yeah, and he's getting exposure already now on the zone and starting to get a little buzz to him. So the last time I was in Puerto Rico, uh, before this trip, many years ago, some years ago, and it was for the rematch of Orlando Salita and Juan Manuel Lopez. And at the end of that fight, they had a controversial stoppage, or the fans didn't like the stoppage of Lopez losing, and they started throwing things at the ring, and I got hit in the forehead right here with a full water bottle right at the end of the broadcast. So I'm happy to report that I was able to get through this broadcast safely and no incidents. So you don't have to worry that I was injured during your telecast in any way.
Good. So when the fighters, I'm sure in the fighter interviews that you have before the fights, they say it took sweat, blood, and tears to get to this point. So you too. It took us.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
So
precisely. So this was a much better trip to Puerto Rico, even though that was great. And
beautiful.
I
So
had after that happened, I had so many back then there were even letters and emails and everything from fans saying, "Oh, we're sorry that happened." I said, "No, no, it's okay. You guys are mad at the decision. You weren't after me." So
this is a new beginning for us and for you as well.
yeah, exactly.
Drama,
Now Puerto
drama,
Rico and
drama
I
free.
have earned it.
We only want the drama to happen in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was a great evening. This series has already produced some very fine moments and some really interesting fights. And what can you tell boxing fans about the future of the Big Time USA Boxing Series, and how is it going to progress at this point?
So, I mean, with some of the fighters on the show, even though, we're not even a year in yet, you've seen the progression from prospect to contender and Joshua Pagan.
Hmm.
People follow Devell Smith. He's 10-0 now. He's going to step up in the next couple of fights. Vladimir Shishkin, although, again, this is, only our first year, had the first fight in March. Now he's fought for a world title. I believe that the series has to be consistent and all the things that we kind of set out to do in terms of progressing fighters to the next level and having the fans follow their progress. Seeing some of these guys, Rio Holmes, I believe soon will kind of make his way to in the top names of the junior middleweight division. Um, so I believe that for the sport of boxing to grow and to uh, and for talent to develop, a talent development platform is very important. And I believe that, in today's day and age in the United States, we really need it. Showbox is gone, and Tuesday Night Fights, which is some decades before that, was phenomenal. Obviously,
Yeah.
Friday Night Fights. And there's been some series that have been very successful and produced some of the greatest fighters in the sport of boxing. And our goal is to do that, is to uncover the hidden gems in the sport of boxing, to develop them, to give them different tests, and to connect them to the boxing fans. And this year we've done it in Michigan. I've done it opened the door in Puerto Rico, and the goal of it is to keep on marching on. The Coca-Cola, which is a beautiful arena, is the first time they have professional boxing, which is phenomenal. Little Caesars in Detroit, first time they have professional boxing as well. These are two phenomenal world-class arenas. So, that's kind of summarizing our goal to break new ground, to go where boxing has not gone before, and to develop new stars and champions and contenders on different levels, both men and women, and to keep our broadcasters and our talent violence free without having the water bottles or any other uh, or anything else hitting them. So we want to guarantee your piece as well as the piece of Corey Erdman and Raul Marquez. Although Raul can take care of himself
Yeah.
as a former pro champion.
Well, I can tell you it's fun to work on the series. It's been very enjoyable, and the and I'll tell you this last show that we just had was just you kind of hit on it. You're the promoter of the show, but as a fan, you were saying, "Oh, I want to see the next round," and that's of course that's the goal of every promoter when they do every fight. But that one
Well,
certainly hit the mark,
yeah,
and
you want to see and these fighters, Deval Smith. Okay, well, he fought a guy that was not so good. Well, how's he gonna? He looks great, but how, is he gonna look great when he fights someone that's a contender or a
yeah,
proven gatekeeper? Joshua Pagan. Okay, look good with this guy, with that guy. Well, what's gonna happen when he steps up? And these are the questions and the conversation that you want to have, and you want one guy to say he's great, and you want somebody else to say, "No, man, he's not. He's nothing. He's not gonna do so well." That's what you
well,
want. You want conversation. You want different opinions because that encourages conversation, and that encourages interest, and it makes the sport of boxing grow. And 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 to make it kind of its own universe with your show,
sure.
having fans interact with you directly and ask questions. And I'm sure that soon they're going to ask questions about different fighters and who they should fight next. Do you think he did
Yes.
good? Do you think he did bad? So that's a great thing, and that's what we want. We want there to be especially in today's day and age where social media makes connection so easy. We want connection and communication and growth of the sport of boxing, and and we wanted to use the technology of 2024 to help us improve the sport and to deliver a better experience to the boxing fans. And it's great to work with the Zone because I believe that they're on the forefront of innovation, and and that's their goal as well, to kind of reach maximum fan engagement. So we're gonna announce our next and last show for 2024, and I'm sure it'll be exciting, and boxing fans will get to see some fighters that they may not have seen before, but it certainly will be interesting. And I'm very grateful that we started doing the show with you as well, again, because it gives the fighters that are active today, as well as some of the legends of the sport, a way to communicate with the boxing fans on our YouTube channel, on X, on Instagram, on other social media platforms. And that's so important, that I think that one of the things that differentiates boxing from other big sports is that you can walk in a boxing gym and see Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather train, and there's no uh, barrier to access, to entry.
Yeah.
And same here. People can communicate with you. People can communicate with the boxers that fight in these events, and that's what we kind of want to establish. And yeah, want to continue to making boxing great. Um, uh, I want to say make boxing great again, but it's always been great. Uh, uh, and
Yeah.
uh,
It
and it will
continues
continue
to
to
grow.
grow.
And oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, I said my piece.
There you go. Yeah, and by the way, speaking specifically to this, very happy that we for this platform you've created a channel here where people can see these really great fights from the past, and you've had a very eclectic mix. And you're a true boxing guy, so you find a way to make this eclectic mix. And I think what we're doing here is the next logical progression for the YouTube channel, because now we're communicating to fans about the overall boxing scene, plus what you are up to and what the Salita Promotions is up to. And we're going to continue to, as we march forward with this show and communicating to boxing fans on all platforms, including the YouTube channel, but very especially that. We're gonna, I've kind of zeroed in at this point in my career. I picked the things that I want to zero in on, and really pay attention to. And this is one of those things that I have zeroed in on and pay attention to. And we're going to build something special here that will augment the promotional things that you're doing, in the ring, and bring up the wider, spectrum of boxing to this channel as well.
Oh yeah, I'm very grateful, obviously, and as I'm sure the boxing fans are as well, to have your experience and your voice um, help tell the stories of the boxing and boxers that are helping in the ring. And Big Time Boxing USA, one of my favorite sayings is "Only in America," although it's not King saying.
There you go.
But yes, I believe that
Well,
we're
and
gonna
even
have.
when we go to Puerto Rico, it's part of America, so that's good. We're still
There you go.
we're
That's
still
right.
there.
Exactly.
And by the way,
Exactly.
I have to say, you mentioned the arenas, the Little Caesars in there. I found that to be that arena, and the fans there, of course, are great boxing fans. And sometimes you made the point, it's not just how many champions they've had, it's boxing being there. So it was a great, for sure, great place to go. Dimitri,
Very good.
great to be with you, and we'll keep checking in with you as we go on here. We're going to do a special feature that's going to be on the YouTube channel separate from this show. We're going to call it Dimitri's Corner, and we're going to be putting that out there from time to time, where I get you to comment on other stuff in boxing as well, not just um, your promotional activities, because you're such a boxing fan. You have a lot of insight and interesting opinions. When we're just standing around talking before a fight or whenever, I find what you're saying about the fights fascinating and
Great.
interesting. So
Thank you.
we'll get into those down the road too.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, and
All
looking
right,
forward to the
take
next
care,
one.
Dimitri.
Thank you.
So
Thanks, Al.
thank you, Dimitri. That'll do it for this edition of our big time boxing show. And we will be back with you next time. Take care, everybody.